Welcome to your informational speech about housing styles. Now, I am here because I am like every girl, and I have that picture in my head of what every dream house would look like that I wanted. And I went from stages, some people want that multi-storied mansion with the acres of grass in the front and the back that you can fit like 30 people in, while other people, their dream house might be a little stone cottage, very quaint, or other people might want the apartment looking out Fifth Avenue. Well, I'm here to say that those styles are great. Some people love them, some people can make nice homes out of them, but there are way more styles out there. And I have come up with a list of some of the more popular ones, some of the ones that can stand out more. And I have learned all this from a housing speech, and I have come up with a little list that you can pick them out just by looking for simple features. And hopefully all this information will give you a better idea of what style suits you best, and maybe what style you want in your near future. So the first one we're going to start off with is a Cape Cod. This house is very simple. The Pilgrims, the people who came over from there or from Britain, they used this house. It came from New England, the style did, and it is very simple. You see the chimney that is centrally located, and it was used to heat, to cook. And there is one story, the main one, that was used where most of the living was, very small, and the attic up the top is considered the half story. Most of the storage was up there, and this house is so popular because it can withstand elements. People use this on the coast because it could withstand rain, it could withstand wind, and people still use it because it is so durable. Our next one is the salt box. Even I think this is a little weird looking, but this also came from England, and it is very common over on the East Coast. You can see that it has a very uneven roof line. One line is very long, the other one was cut short, and it looks like it kind of has a lean-to appearance. And this is because a long time ago, I guess, salt boxes looked like this. I have never seen one, but it looked like a salt box, so they named it this. And you don't see these as much anymore just because they're not as popular, but some people build sheds up against a building, and it kind of has a salt box appearance. Next one is a log cabin. This originally started in Scandinavia, so up north by Norway and Sweden, and it is still very popular, but it used to only have 1 or 2 wings, and you see the chimney. This was also the focal point of the house. These houses were very common in the north, so staying warm was very important. They wanted to make sure the house could stay heated, so they had a huge fireplace, and that went through both stories. And the fireplace was the main thing of the house. That is the one thing you can point out from a log cabin, is the huge fireplace. But modern cabins don't really have them as much anymore. We have internal heating, we have geothermal heating. But a way to pick out a modern cabin is the whole side of a house might be windows. It might overlook a lake. But modern cabins are very large, they can be very ornate, they are just very expensive looking, but still very popular. The Prairie. This house is actually very common still, and it was kind of back at the turn of the century. The famous Frank Lloyd Wright came up with this, and it was known that he was very ahead of his time when thinking about this, because it is very spaceship looking. I guess back then it didn't match most housing styles, but you can see the roof is very flat, and he was a big fan of horizontal lines. And this was because he wanted nature to flow into the house. He didn't want to feel like when you stepped into a house you weren't in nature anymore. So he made everything very low ceilings, very horizontal lines, and there's evidence of this in Mason City. The hotel by the mall, the Park Inn Hotel, was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, and there are houses over by East Park, the Stockman House, and especially over in that area, there are a lot more houses, and I know there's one for sale because I wanted my parents to buy it. The ranch. This is probably not what a ranch down in Texas looks like, but it is very popular up here. I live in a ranch house, and it is a 1-story. You can see the attached garage that is very popular. It kind of looks like the house is all garage from the outside, but there is also a basement on the bottom, so really half of the house is underneath. And the low-pitched roof is there because we get a lot of snow in the north. And if you had a whole bunch of snow sitting on a flat roof, you would be seeing that snow inside sometimes. So they made it so it sloped off, the water could melt, and you wouldn't have any roofs caving in. But this house is so popular because it can be varied. You can change it up so much. You can have it to fit your lifestyle. You can make it a lot bigger if you want more space, or you can make it a little smaller if you're older, you don't have any kids. But I know, especially in my town, Rockville, Iowa, the majority of the houses are ranch. So, Queen and Victorian. Most haunted houses look like this. I have no idea what the connection is, but they have received a bad rap because most haunted houses, most movies, they are in a house like this. And these were very popular at the turn of the century. They had this small tower, which is called a turret. This is what you'll see on a lot of castles. And that is usually a room by itself, so that is a unique feature of Victorian. But they have been called beautifully rustic. They're usually very colorful. They used to be called painted ladies, but they look like gingerbread houses. A lot of girls usually like this house because it's very pretty, very, very colorful. Last but not least is the gigantic Greek Revival. Now this house is one of the easiest to pick out because it looks like you could be in Greece if you lived in this house. The columns in the front, they are the huge key piece to this. They go up and down, they go through 2 stories, and these houses can be anywhere from 2, 3, 4 stories high. So this is the mansion, and they can house up to 30 people. They're usually very light in color, and this is what a lot of the plantations in the South were. They had, a lot of room, they had a lot of money, so they just decided to make the biggest house they could. And one famous example of this is actually the White House in D.C. It is the white color, and the Greek columns show that it is a Greek Revival home. So after hearing about all these elements, I hope it is easy for you to look at a house and think, oh, hey, that's a prairie house, or hey, that's a ranch house, or then maybe you think about what kind of house do I live in. And just from looking up these facts and taking this class, I have realized that, this house could suit me better than the other house. I maybe want the larger house, or maybe I want the smaller apartment. But just remember, these aren't all of the houses out there. There are many more styles. And I hope this has sparked an interest, and maybe you can go out and look to see what kind of housing style you like. So,